You know that feeling when you're facing a task that's so tedious, so huge, that just thinking about it makes you want to, well, not do it? Today, we're diving into a really cool story about turning exactly that kind of digital headache into an elegant, automated solution. And it all started with one single, pretty daunting number. So what's with this number? 216. Well, that's not just some random figure. That's the exact number of individual web pages that needed to be saved from a kind of digital graveyard. I mean, can you imagine migrating every single one of those by hand? And that's exactly the thought that went through a developer's head. See, a friend's old website, a real relic from the now-defunct Geocities, was at risk of being lost forever. All 216 pages of it. It didn't take long to realize that a manual rescue mission was, well, you see the quote, it was basically impossible. So this massive, overwhelming task actually became the origin story for a very, very clever tool. Faced with what seemed like an endless amount of copying and pasting, the developer thought, okay, instead of doing the work, I'm going to build a machine to do it for me. The plan was to move all that great content over to a more modern platform, Google Blogger, where new people could even contribute. But think about it, cleaning up all that old, crusty HTML, dealing with images, formatting everything consistently for 216 pages? Yeah, that was a total non-starter. So, out of pure necessity, a custom solution was born. And the solution that came out of this is a Python-based desktop application called HTML Blogger. It was designed to do one thing and do it really, really well. Solve this exact problem. So let's take a look at what it does. At its heart, HTML Blogger is a purpose-built tool. It's designed to take a messy folder full of old HTML files and images and just transform them. It turns them into perfectly formatted draft posts ready to go live on a Google Blogger site. It automates pretty much the entire workflow. And this is where you can see the real magic of this tool. It doesn't just move content, it actually makes it better. It cleans up the code, it processes all the images, it can even add watermarks, and it intelligently scans the text to pull out keywords and location tags automatically. And it does all of this through a simple, easy-to-use interface. Okay, so you've got this folder of old files on one side, and you want a clean, modern blog on the other? How does this tool actually bridge that gap? Let's walk through the automated process it follows, step by step. You can think of the application as a kind of digital assembly line. It runs a series of Python scripts, one after the other, in a very specific order. Each script has one job to do, and when they work together, they take that raw, messy content and turn it into a polished final product. So here's how that assembly line works. First, it just pulls in all the files and does a basic cleanup. Then the really smart stuff happens. It analyzes the content for all that useful metadata and gets the images ready. Next, it cleverly updates all the image links inside the HTML, so they point to their new home on the blog. And finally, it bundles it all up and uploads the finished article as a draft, just waiting for a quick human thumbs up. All right, I know what you might be thinking. This sounds amazing, but it's gotta be a nightmare to set up, right? Well, let's take a look at how you can get it running. It's probably more straightforward than you'd expect. So if you're thinking, hey, I could use this for one of my own projects, there are just a couple of things that you'll need to get out of the way first. Obviously, you're going to need Python installed on your computer. But the other key piece of the puzzle is setting up a project in Google's cloud platform. Now, don't let that sound intimidating. This is just what allows the application to talk to your Blogger account securely. And getting that set up really just boils down to these 4 steps. You create a new project, you find and turn on the Blogger API, you create some credentials specifically for a desktop app, and then you download one single JSON file. This little file is basically the secret key that gives the HTML Blogger application permission to post to your blog for you. Okay, so let's just zoom out for a second and look at the big picture. What is the real impact of a tool like this? It's really about taking a task that feels impossible and making it, well, not just possible, but easy. I mean, just look at this comparison. The difference is absolutely night and day. What could have been weeks of mind-numbing, error-prone work becomes a fast, consistent, and repeatable process. This is literally how a project-killing nightmare gets transformed into a super streamlined workflow that you can use over and over again. You know, this whole project kicked off just because one person looked at a huge, tedious job and said there has to be a better way. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What problem in your own work, or maybe in your personal projects, is just sitting there, waiting for a clever solution like this to be built?